You ready?
Yep, let's do it.
All right. I did not mean it
The
to
mic works, it works.
Well, the microphone does work. All right, I would like to call the meeting to order. If everyone would stand for the moment of silence and the pledge. You face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Recorder, if you call the roll.
Chair Laura Harrison.
Present.
Vice Chair Jeremy Burnett.
Here.
Michelle Child.
Here.
Keith Acton.
Present.
Deborah Thomas.
I would like to welcome everyone to our special call meeting. This will be our only meeting this month. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak? Hearing none, Dr. Cole, will you lead us through our agenda?
I sure will. First of all, let me just say welcome and thank you to everybody for being here. This is the first meeting we've had here, so welcome to our relatively new district office. We anticipated a large crowd tonight. We had a lot of recognitions that we wanted to do, and we knew there would be some folks here that wanted to see those, so we decided to not risk running way over capacity at City Hall. And what we didn't know is we're still a little bit over capacity in our little space here. So we've done our best to make it work, and thank you. So a number of recognitions that we want to do today, but one of the things that we're recognizing today is the Tennessee School Boards Association School Board Appreciation Month. So if you don't know this, I want to let you know you have 5 unbelievably hardworking school board members here who have chosen to be public servants and run for public office and all the things that come with that. They work extremely hard. I can tell you the compensation is very, very, very low for what they do. And you may be saying, hey, it's not that low. Probably. It really is. There's not a lot of good reason to do it. It's the lowest in Shelby County by far. There's not a lot of good reasons to do it financially, but they do it because they love Lakeland, they love Lakeland school system, they love your kids if you're one of the parents here, they love the faculty and staff of Lakeland. I can tell you that because they're constantly asking me, how does this impact the staff? What do the teachers think? What do the staff members think? They are dedicated, they are professional, and it's just a joy to serve them and serve alongside them, as the case may be. So we only do a couple little things for them ourselves. We fed them a meal before, and then the schools help us honor the school board members. So what we're going to ask them to do is find some seats up here. I think we can come up with 5 seats up here, or 4 seats right there. And I'm going to let Principal Martin and Principal Lockhart come up and do their introductions. All right, the next item on the agenda is the monthly financial summary. Our CFO, Chief of Finance, Kristen Gavey Sweat, is going to come up and just talk us through the posted agenda items.
Mr. David Sweat, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Worrell. As always, horrible act to follow. You get the monthly finance after all of that, pomp and circumstance, an incredible celebration, but yeah, here we are. So you should have a copy of the standard format. I laid out a few talking points that I just want to kind of talk about some of the changes. Maybe if you look back at one of the earlier reports this year, namely that the Tennessee Comptroller's Office has a standardized chart of accounts that basically dictates what accounts we can actually use. I can't create an account for just anything. We have to ensure that it follows the uniform chart of accounts. We had a few functions, a few programs that weren't on the state chart of accounts, so we've corrected a few of those. But the will of the body is still intact with this document. We just merged a few of the programs. So if you look back specifically at other bonus function, that one has been merged, some things like that. So just kind of a note there. The overall spending to date in the general fund, across all general fund programs, is 58.5%. This is exactly where we would expect to be 7 months into the year. Taking a look at some of the specific programs, regular instruction, slightly high, but this is attributed to annual bonuses, which are paid once a year and have already been paid out, as well as curriculum orders. We buy our curriculum in the summer so the kids can have it. So those front-loaded purchases caused that function to trend a little high 7 months in, but we certainly think it'll standardize over the rest of the year. Vocational education is lower than the median. This is attributed to one of those chart account changes I mentioned. The Innovative School Models is a state-funded grant that's over multiple years. We have 2 more years to spend down on that grant. It was actually merged in with the vocational education budget. So you've got 2 years worth of potential spending all dropped into that one relatively small function. And so that obviously inflates the overall budget, and the year-to-date spending is a little low. But we do have a couple of purchases in the second half of this year that we anticipate will bring that total up as well. Technology and the board programs are trending slightly high. This is due to annual contracts paid at the beginning of the fiscal year. Forecasting both of these, monitoring both of these, I do anticipate that they'll level out as we get to the second half of the year. Transportation is slightly under budget. We love that, because obviously that one is a pretty tough thing to pay for. Mostly attributed to the snow days. We trended a little bit lower during the snow days, and it's slower than we would anticipated we would be at this time of year. We're continuing to execute on the relatively small amount of federal grants, which appear directly below the general fund. The nutrition fund, just as a side note, as well as the capital fund, are healthy, balanced, and really well equipped to meet the needs of the school system.
Any questions for Mr. Gates?
No, sir, you answered my only question was about the transportation.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Next item.
All right, next item is the legislative liaison update. After months of, they're out of session, they're in the thick of it now, aren't they?
It's Child's.
Yes.
Sure.
I'll update you on a few bills that are pertinent. The first one is SB 1896, and this one is that, as introduced right now, would require boards of education that contract for transportation services, so not ones who own their own buses, which contract is what we do, and that's only 26% of the school districts in the state, and that if a school contracts, that they would have to provide transportation to any student that lives more than 1.5 miles, which that would not particularly affect us because our zone of proximity is 1.5 miles, but it is the state entering regulation on transportation, which they had not done in the past. The second one I wanted to mention is that HB 1888 and SB 2109 is proposing a waiver of licensure for experienced teachers without a bachelor's degree from private schools. And it would allow more flexibility, but it would not afford the same flexibility for public school teachers. Third one is SB 2310, HB 2393, and this one this would regulate using any devices in classrooms for kindergarten through, as amended, I believe, 8th grade at this point, including educators using devices in the classroom. The fourth one, and that would include whiteboards. The fourth one is SB 1822, HB 1785. And this one would afford private school students who attend a high school less than 200 students to be able to participate, to try out and potentially be on a team at a public school. And the fifth one is HB 328, SB 349. This would allow open enrollment for out-of-district students on any available seats at public schools. And this would also include the legislatures changing your teacher to student ratio. So if you have lower than the maximum in a that the law allows, then they could say that you would have to, in some cases, possibly double your numbers and have much higher student-to-teacher ratio to be able to have all those seats available. So I will also note that on that one and on the one about private high schools, both of those, Dr. Oral have reached out to the board chair, not board chair, to Representative,
The Education Committee Chair.
thank you. That's what I meant. And I also want to know on the private school, where the private school students can attend public school, Dr. Worrell had also pointed out issues where private schools could set up in our district, just to have, actually, if you could explain that a little better, how, the concern you had on that one.
Well, I don't want to give anybody the idea, but the one about allowing athletes from small private schools to participate in our athletic programs could potentially set up a situation where somebody set up a, I'll say, in quotes, school for athletes and basically just send them en masse to try out for our teams because the school would be located within the city of Lakeland. They would then be eligible to try out even though the students themselves aren't Lakeland residents. So has some concerns with potential situations, and we've even seen some schools that are set up like that in Nashville, basically to focus on athletes that spend the majority of their time traveling to get better at their sport, which is fine, but would potentially have an impact on our own athletic programs. So.
That's the end of my report. If you have questions.
Mr. Burnett?
Mr. Charles, as always, thank you for such a thorough job. One or two questions on, especially on the HB 1822, the private school athletes. If passed, that would create a financial burden on the public school. Is there talk about a fiscal note to be attached if passed, or is that under consideration?
No, because basically the legislature, and I'm going to let Dr. Worrell correct if I misspeak on this part, but basically the legislatures give a lot of rules about how sports should be done, but no money behind those rules. And so basically, we get the TISA money that pays for our teachers, and we just have to, for the academics during the day, and we have to basically pay for, athletics out of that. Okay.
That's accurate. A lot of people don't realize that, but the state does not fund athletics. I know you know Mr. Burnett, does not fund athletics 1 cent. And in fact, I was on a TISA committee where it was a kind of an open conversation, and they said, is there anything else we should talk about? And I said, well, perhaps there should be some funding for athletes in the TISA formula, and everybody laughed.
Yes, so our students that do sit in our seats during the school day, and the funding that's used that comes with them to be able, to pay the academics that are during our daytime hours is what funds our athletics in the afternoon. So if we had students that attend these small private schools that would, and they got a spot over our public school students, then it would also, they would be using the funding that the student who didn't get that slot brings to the table.
So effectively, it's another unfunded mandate that our state legislators are considering.
Well put.
So anyone listening and has contact with especially our local state education committee chair, that should be a talking point. We should reach out to them. I encourage you to call, express your concerns or support, but mostly I would hope concerns that there's a state law that would create an undue financial burden on the school systems, not just Lakeland, but all school systems across the state. Some that are a whole lot less financially stable than Lakeland. But I'm only here to support Lakeland.
Any more questions? All right, hearing none, next item.
Next item is the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to get this item on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. As everybody is aware, this is a special call meeting, so we cannot amend the agenda. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item.
Next item is the consent agenda. There are 7 items on the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to get this item on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We can move items from the consent agenda to the regular agenda. That is allowed in the special call meeting. Is there anything anybody would like to remove from the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda is approved. Next item.
Next item, as we move into discussion action items, we have an academic data presentation. This is one of several that we do throughout each year, and I'm going to turn the podium over to our Deputy Superintendent, Dr. Angie DeLoso. She has been working extremely closely with our three directors of academics who are there in the back of the room making their way down now. There is Ashley Jackson, the high school academics director. I'm stealing part of your presentation, Dr. DeLoso. There's Terry Eldridge, the middle school director of instruction, and Ashley Macklin, who is our elementary director of instruction. And they've all collaborated on this, and board members, this was shared with you. We are going to show it on this screen for the audience if you can look at it there, look at it on your laptop. And again, thanks for bearing with us on our makeshift board room here. But look forward to seeing what you have to share.
Thank you, and I'm excited to be back to present our Q2 data board presentation. And I appreciate Dr. Worrell for introducing you to our directors of instruction, as they have done this work with teachers and administrators, and this is a reflection of that hard work. So for this presentation, we're looking at systematic thinking and alignment of our curriculum, of our standards, and the teaching and instruction beyond the numbers. So we're going to look at some qualitative data that leads up to the quantitative data around our TCAP and benchmarks. But just wanted to peel back some layers for you. So just to quickly highlight the instructional goals that we shared in the first presentation, we're looking at intentionally focusing on our growth and achievement across all of our subject areas and continuing to work hard to maintain what's already established in our science and social studies programs. Next, our instructional supports. This is some of the focus that we've been looking at specifically this school year. So we have very targeted professional development around writing instruction, continued high quality instructional materials implementation. So meaning, again, we have a strong curriculum that you've approved, and we want to make sure we're using it thoroughly and using it well and looking at its impact. And then we have had new science standards and new science curriculum grades K through 12. So to peel back some of these layers, we said one is professional development around writing. So when we looked at our writing TCAP scores, we saw that around 70% of our students grades 2 through 8 that are on the right there were proficient in English language arts. But those same students, when you tease out the writing portion of that test, they were 60% proficient in the writing area. So the writing component counts 30% of the TCAP measure there. So we spent a lot of time specifically looking at that and having a lot of professional development in writing instruction and getting teachers across grade levels together. So you'll see in that picture there, if you see the presentation, that's one of the PD sessions we had at Lakeland Elementary. So to sort of unpack it, we talked to some teachers, and this really shows some of the work that our third grade teachers have done. So we had a professional development, and our teachers had looked at anchor papers, which is another word highlighted here, where we showed them how TCAP writing papers are scored up to a level 4, and what to pull out of that. And so helping teachers have the professional development and the specifics to pull out, focusing on the content, the organization, maybe not so much grammar and conventions, but not the length of it necessarily, but the content. So we've done a lot of PD there, looking at those anchor papers, and brought in a TCAP writing expert, Ms. Myers. So our third grade teachers are saying that significantly impacted their day-to-day ELA instruction. So it's changing their instruction. So looking at those anchor papers, kind of a rubric, help them clarify expectations for each level. If I want kids to shoot for a level 4, it would look like that. So then you'll see they're highlighted, they're very intentional about what they're modeling, what they're teaching, and at the end, basically, they feel like they're aligning their instruction most closely with what students are asked to be displaying on these high-stakes writing assessments. So just an example we want to show you on the left, where it says how the BAP got wings. This is an example of a student's writing in the fall. And then currently on the right, those two go together, top and bottom. That's another sample of that particular student's writing that shows how the organization and the content and that explicit professional development and the rubric helped shape some students' writing there. We wanted to highlight a little bit about our intervention program. We have 2 intervention teachers at Lakeland Elementary, and we have 3 at Lakeland Preparatory School. And so just to highlight, when you look at grades K through 4, on the left is English Language Arts and the right is math. That's our universal screener. And you'll see from fall to winter, the column there to the right is the percent change. So an increase in students scoring above the 40th percentile, which means that they're ready to tackle the standards in their classes. You'll see kindergarten's a little bit lower, those percentages of students coming in, whereas first graders, for example, come in at 82% already. We see kindergartners coming in with not quite as many skills, or maybe they haven't had the explicit instruction that some students in the past have had. We wanted to highlight on the next slide that we believe our intervention programs are effective, and that adding those additional interventionists to help us with math has been very effective as well. So we like to look at students moving from small group Tier 2, Tier 3 intervention back to Tier 1, which puts them back in their core classroom, their general education classroom. So you'll just see some numbers there, and all of those students bolded and underlined have moved back into Tier 1 or from Tier 3 to Tier 2. Same thing for our 5th through 8th graders. You'll see again, we have kids coming in with the skills, specifically if you look at 5th grade, ELA and math, very high. So they're leaving 4th grade with some strong skills and standards mastery. That lets us know too they're maintaining and retaining quite a bit as well over the summer. So we work a lot to influence and increase that growth. The 7th and 8th graders, we screen them once a year. That's why you don't see another score there. But if they're flagging as a concern below that 40th percentile, they're screened more often. We wanted to highlight a few things around our middle school English language arts. So there are some of our teachers. I see Ms. Hannah there, most recent Teacher of the Year from middle school. This group has been doing some work for about a year and a half or so, and really working with our directors of instruction to look at their curriculum and look at pieces that might be helpful, like a writing workbook, and so, which is part of the curriculum. So they've gotten together, and we've done professional development where they're looking at from grade to grade. If I'm teaching this in 3rd, what do you need kids to be ready for in 4th, instead of just teaching in these silos, to where kids are just mastering things out of sort of, compliance, checking the box versus the big picture of the skill or standard. So you'll see some documents there, a unit prep guide and a lesson prep guide. Just for example, the state gives a lot of guidance documents, and our directors of instruction take those with the teachers and principals and make them our own. So there's a lot to how teachers are teaching, how they're looking at the curriculum, how they're collaborating, how we go in and walk into classrooms and look for continuity. So just some data. This is some cohort data here, and it's just a snapshot For example, on the left-hand side, when it says MBPA, that's our standards benchmark that we give twice a year now. So you'll see our ELA focus there, and students in the 7th grade cohort from the fall 24-25. And then if you look to the right-hand side, then these students are now 8th graders. And the work that we've done, where you look at the purple graph, that's where we start to look at them in the fall and see how are you doing mastering standards. Now granted, we've only taught a short amount of time, but already some of that focused work, if you compare those two purple bars, it's increased quite a bit. We're trying to get more intentional and move some things quicker. You'll see that same thing for the next slide there with our cohort 2030, that's a little far out, but those two purple graphs, again, they're showing more mastery around standards with this intentional kind of surgical focus to teaching very, very targeted. So we wanted to also highlight math. You'll see quite a few of our math teachers and administrators, and this is elementary, middle, and high. So we've gotten groups of teachers together so they can look vertically from grade to grade. How do we want to make sure we have continuity for our students? We still work with our Southwest Core math expert who works with us, and we collaborate quite a bit. Again, you'll see those focus documents. That's where we'll go around, look at work, students' work, and then, for example, Dr. Barbie and a team will examine the work to see are we teaching conceptually the way we need to be across classes. So that's where we get into the normed expectations through these learning blocks. So with this math focus here, this is not the same group of students. This is on the left-hand side, those were our 5th graders last year. On the right-hand side, these are our current 5th graders. What we're showing here, for one example, is if you look at the blue bar, we have quite a few students who this year that came from 4th grade last year with that 86.1% proficient in that top right-hand corner there. 53% of them are projected at a 4, the highest level on TCAP. The point of showing you this, and again, peeling back these layers, is what does our instruction need to look like? What do we need to do with the conceptual parts of things, the standards, and how do we need to support teachers and listen to teachers with what they need? The last area, we want to get to a high school area, so is biology and science. I would say we've had our biggest shifts there. One, because we adopted a brand new science curriculum, grades K through 12 last year. All the science standards changed significantly, the focus changed. We phased out physical science for 8th graders, as that was not preparing them for as efficiently as the standards changed, for what these new standards call for. And we also added ecology as a 9th grade science course, which does prepare students better for biology if they need that preparation in 9th grade. So that's a lot of change for our teachers and administrators. So you'll see another picture there of some of our science teachers. And so there's a lot of professional learning, community work. The principals do a great job of giving teachers time to plan together, collaborate together. And if you look at that second bullet, this is what they're teaching, is the phenomena. And what that means, I'm glad they put it to these 5 E's, because it makes it less mysterious to me. But we want kids to engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate as scientific, with scientific reasoning, And so we really wanted to build our teachers' capacity, build their confidence, and using our first benchmark data to change instruction if we needed to. So that's what you're going to see on this next slide. On the left-hand side, that's last year's biology. Students in standard and honors. So, we were about 65% of the top grade proficient. That combines everyone. So remember, this year we have quite a few students, over 100 students in ecology, and we also have about over 100 students in honors biology. So what you see on the right-hand side, you see what they're projected. This is honors biology students right now. They're projected 98%, that gray bar, proficient on TCAP. And so what we're looking at is where are we right now with these benchmark standards and these new concepts. We're looking at how do we support teachers, support students, and keep moving this as they're shifting and adapting. So instead of waiting for our second benchmark, other work has been happening. We'll see those results here in just a week or so. And then finally, these are some exciting things around the ACT. We have at least 66% of our seniors have scored a 21 or higher, which means they meet the requirement for the Hope Scholarship, and according to state descriptions, they're college and career ready. You've seen some pictures on social media of students in our 30+ club, and this is who we have right now. Kids are still taking the ACT, and we will give it next week as well. And there's quite a bit of work that's been happening to help boost our students' skills and abilities and confidence going into the ACT. Our teachers, Ms. Richard, for example, has led faculty professional development where kids are doing things in their bell work. We've had Saturday sessions. We've had a podcast. I think we have our podcast representative here, Ms. Kim Pickens, one of them. And what has been pointed out to me is our local ACT representative for students, or our ACT representative for the state of Tennessee lives local. She's near us, so we have a lot of face-to-face conversations, and those things have been happening. So there's a lot of proactive planning still there with the ACT. And just really to summarize, again, the credit goes to the teachers, the administrators, the directors of instruction. These are just some highlights of looking beyond the numbers to the qualitative part, to what's happening. I really want to give a lot of credit to our teachers for all their professional work. This is very nuanced work. It's very detailed and work, and it happens in real time. So I wanted to try to highlight that this time, and then see if you have any questions.
Ms. Shopton.
Thank you, that was super helpful. I have a couple questions. The first one is about kindergarten. You had mentioned maybe they're coming less prepared as before. I mean, what does that look like? Because, I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking, kindergarten kind of comes in on a base level. I mean, I understand lots of kids do go to, preschools and daycares, but, I mean, are these kind of like, norm to start out at this point, or has it decreased with, I guess, the kids that were, during pandemic kind of thing?
So that's a good question. I think all of what you just said is true in a sense, in that when kids come into kindergarten and we give them a screener, we're one-on-one with them, and they may have a different level of exposure to things that we're asking them to do. So it's generally lower to begin with, those scores. One, because of what the skills and standards are, they may not have had that direct instruction. Anecdotally, from kindergarten teachers, I hear a lot that kids are having more difficulty doing things with eye-hand coordination, like working puzzles and kind of manipulating items with some thought there with technology. that's available to these young kids. And they also will change the norms of these tests at times as well. So sometimes it's favorable to us and sometimes it's not. I think it's a combination of things, but I think generally speaking, we have a higher number of students come in who may not have been exposed, who may not have been in the preschool, who may not speak English as their first language, and need more direct instruction, is my experience.
Okay, thank you. And then my second question was, could you speak more about why physical science was phased out and for 8th graders, high achieving 8th graders, because that was a high school credit, and like, so are they taking ecology in 8th grade instead? I mean, I'm just wondering how it works, because I have 2 kids, and one was able to take the high school credit in 8th grade, and he did way better in chemistry because it's 9 weeks of chemistry, whereas the other student, it would have helped, like my personal kids, it would have helped her a lot more when she got to chemistry had she had that. So, and I know chemistry is not one that has an EOC, and I know biology does, so I guess just if you could speak more to like where ecology fits in and why physical science was phased out for 8th graders.
Yeah, it's a good question, and we had a team of people really looking at it, and some of our science teachers, our biology teachers as well, for a couple of years. And one thing with the standards change that changed in 8th grade science, but really goes all the way back to kindergarten, and with the curriculum that we purchased, the life sciences, earth sciences, the different types of sciences are layered in across all the subjects now. It's not necessarily just so isolated to a certain type of science necessarily. It's been that way to an extent, but students who didn't have 8th grade science seem to have need a lot more instruction those first few weeks or so in biology, and may not get to the point of mastering all that material to then be able to show what they knew on the ACT. That was sort of one issue with that. And that's true that physical science is more linked to chemistry, but with the shift in the standards, we looked at 8th grade science and 8th grade enriched science options because of how the types of sciences are spread out across the grade levels. So it was sort of, it wasn't as synthesized, I guess, as aligned with the way the standards are now.
And how does
Can I add to that? Definitely pros and cons to the approach, but I think we were seeing a lot of deficits in biology for our students. Almost kind of surprising, I think, the determination was that lack of that 8th grade foundation may have been part of it.
Okay, and how does ecology fit in? Because you had mentioned ecology versus physical science. Or maybe you just meant it was added, I'm not really sure.
So it was added, and so it aligns more with the standards as they are now, with that also helping students have another level of support or instruction before biology. So we'll see some students who take ecology in 9th grade and biology in 10th grade, and it gives that option that covers the sciences in the way the standards have been shifted for 9th grade students. Go ahead.
Celeste, thank you. A couple of comments and a question. One, thank you for such an excellent presentation. You gave that executive level overview with lots of information for us to digest. I really appreciate how you all dove into this data, dissected it, and then showed us how you used it to change and improve. So that's incredibly helpful for me. So thank you, but I also want to make another comment. Our ELA percentages match an article I read the other day that what were the national averages. It matched the national average before there was a federal Department of Education. And it has slipped continuously across the U.S. since. So we're doing as well locally with the federal Department of Education as the rest of the nation did before there was a federal Department of Education. Take that as you will, but that's a fact. And my question though is on the ACT. Are those, and I should remember, are those super sport or are those one-time or best time takes on the 21 or higher?
They're best.
Yeah.
They are.
Best one-time take, not super sport.
Those are not super sport. Yeah, best one-time take. Is that right?
Exactly.
Yes, so those are the ones like we would have to report to the state when we report those, so it does include science. So like even for the Hope does not require science in the new one, but those are for us, what we report to the state, that's with 21, that 66% came from.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Yes.
Thank you for the presentation. I would just like to commend you and your team here. The intervention numbers they tell a great story, and I would just say that obviously there were some great points brought up, but congratulations, great job. I'm enjoying the progress that we're seeing here, and just you have our support. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate all of those comments and questions, and I do think it speaks to the hard work of our directors of instruction and our focus on strong tier 1 instruction, which is just going to your general education class and staying in your core classes and getting what you need there. So those supports are to help students move in and out of there seamlessly. So I appreciate you pointing that out.
Well, let me note, Mr. Acton said you have the support of the board. The support of the board is what allowed us to have these dedicated grade band, director level instructional leaders working with Dr. DeLoso, and I can tell you, is obvious to you, it makes a huge difference just having these dedicated folks that wake up every day and are thinking about the data and how do we use it, and what does it mean, and what are we missing, and which the presentation demonstrated. Some of the data shows the results of things they're doing, some of the data suggests things that we need to be doing better. So they take all that into account, as you noted, so thank you.
They do, and I just wanted to see, is there anything you wanted to add?
I know the answer to that, actually. They did all their, no, I'm just kidding.
They know a lot.
They do, they did all the work on the back end.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you to the team. Thank you for what you do every day for Lakeland families, Lakeland school system, our children. I'm gonna get teared up. I've been really touched tonight by everything going on. So this kind of hit home and wrapped it all up. So thank y'all so much for what you're doing.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Kroll, next item.
All right, next item is the review of the policy manual, section 5, the second half. I know Ms. Thomas is not here, but I know.
Do you have anything to report?
They did not have anything to report for this meeting in particular. But as Ms. Harrison likes to say, if any board member has any policy they'd like to bring up, we may have some in the works, you can certainly let her know or let me know. Make sure it's there.
All right. Next item, are there any announcements?
I will just note, I know the board's aware, I'll be going to the TOSS, the Tennessee Organization of School Superintendent Legislative and Leadership Conference tomorrow morning, and we'll be back Thursday evening, and we'll have the opportunity to chat even more about some legislative issues that we're aware of. And let me also thank Ms. Childs. She is a really great partner in this work, and is a great one to prompt me or point out or remind me about certain pieces of legislation, so I can then turn around and in some cases, hope or prod or support our legislators to make sure that this board's legislative priorities are being carried out. So thank you for that work as well.
So I think we have an LES auction coming up. Is it this week? I think it might be this week.
I think it's Friday night.
Yeah, and I think there's a big play coming up that is going on. So that
Anything Goes is going to be the LPS play. The middle school and elementary school musicals were both amazing.
Yeah.
We got those in just after the snow.
And I think we just start off the spring season sports too. So lots of things going on in the school system. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I know we're starting the throes of spring sports, so I'll just announce that soccer only has 2 home games in March, and the first one is tomorrow night. There's JV at 5 and varsity at 7.
So any more announcements?
One more, I know we have a lot of students that may or may not be here to get their honor diploma form signed. Chair Harrison is the person to get those signed by. If you forgot your form, Summer up front has some
extras.
Summer keeps us all prepared, so she's prepared for y'all too.
Amen.
All right, if there's no further announcements, or is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We have a motion, I'll make the second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.